Hello friends, I, Sybcom Tax Pjk, welcome you all on my today's lecture on the subject accountancy and taxation. I hope you all are doing well and staying safe at your own place. As you all know, we had started with a new unit, the name of which was Residential Status of an Assessee. In this particular unit, what we have discussed till now, I would just like to take a quick overview on all those particular points. First was the introduction, that why it is important to study residential status. The first point is to know the tax incidence, that is, whether a particular assessee is liable to pay tax in a particular nation or not, can be determined only if we know his residential status. So, I have broadly bifurcated that part into further points as first point says that if the income is accrued to an Indian individual outside India, that is, suppose if I have received any income outside India, whether income tax is liable on that particular income in India or not. That is again a one question. And the another question what I can ask is if there is some foreign person. I have given you the example of IPL, that is Indian Premier League. Now, if a person who is not an Indian citizen, he is belonging to some another nation, he is coming to India to play cricket and he is earning certain income in the form of playing that player. Now, in this particular case, whether this income that he is earning from an IPL is actually going to be taxable in his hands in India or not is again a matter of question. So basically, to clarify that whether this is going to be applicable to income tax or not, it is necessary for all of us to understand firstly that whether he is a resident or a non-resident of India. And for that, it becomes necessary to study the topic of residential status. So yes, you can get to know about the tax incidence on any of the assessee only if you get to know what is the residential status of that particular assessee. So first of all, I had explained you the classification of residential status. So basically, this is based on the type of person. So broadly, we had classified it into two categories. One is for individuals and HUF, and another is for all the other types of persons. Now, if a person is individual or HUF, he can be classified firstly as a resident or a non-resident. Now, if he is a resident, then we can apply additional conditions to know whether he is ordinary resident or not ordinary resident. So you just need to remember that if a question comes in your examination of an individual or a HUF, generally the questions are coming for an individual, but you need to remember in a manner that whether individual or HUF, if your answer is coming to resident, you are not going to stop there. You are further going to apply additional conditions to know whether he is ordinary resident or not ordinary resident. However, if it is other than individual or HF, we are just having two kind of bifurcation, that is resident and non-resident. So this is just a general background, like what is the classification of the residential status. Now we had started with the topic basic conditions. So first question that I'm going to ask is whether this person is a resident or a non-resident. Now there are basic conditions which is going to give me the answer of this particular question. Now what is it? Let us discuss quickly. First point that I have mentioned over here is if any one condition is satisfied, that person will be termed as a resident. So here I am having the OR criteria. You can see in the table below that there are 2 points, 2 conditions, condition 1 and condition 2. If any one of this is satisfied, we will say that particular person is the resident. However, if none of the condition is satisfied, that is, if condition 1 and condition 2 both are not satisfied, then only we are going to say that he is the non-resident. Secondly, at the time of calculation of the number of days, we need to keep in mind that the day of leaving India and the day of returning back to India will be considered as stay in India. So I have given you the example. Suppose I was coming to India on 1st January 2020 and I am going back to USA on 1st March 2020. Now these 2 dates, that is 1st January and 1st March, will be considered as if I was in India. So basically they are going to be added when I'm calculating the number of days I was in India. Now let's quickly take a look at the condition. Condition number 1 says he is in India in previous year for 182 days or more. Previous year means your current year. So suppose if I'm calculating a residential status for a person for the financial year 2019-20, then I need to check that whether in the year 2019-20 he was in India for at least 182 days or not. If yes, then my first condition will be fulfilled. If not, then my first condition will not be fulfilled. Second condition is broadly again divided into two parts, subpart A and subpart B. A point states that he is in India in previous year for 60 days or more. So if I'm calculating for 2019-20, I need to check that whether in this particular year the assessee was in India for at least 60 days. If yes, then my A part is fulfilled. And that is simultaneously, I also need to check my second part, that is B part. He is in India for 365 days or more during 4 years immediately preceding the previous year. That is, if I'm calculating for 2019-20, now I'm not going to take a look at 19-20, but I'm going to go back by 4 years. That is, I can say 15-16, 16-17, 17-18, and 18-19. Now, in this total 4 years, I need to check whether the assessee was in India for 365 days or not. If yes, then my B part will be fulfilled. If not, then it won't be fulfilled. Now, in second point, you need to remember that both A and B are required to be fulfilled. Why? Because I have written over here and. So it is compulsory that both the parts should be fulfilled. If yes, then we can say condition 2 has been duly met. If not, then we cannot say that condition 2 is fulfilled. In short, what you are supposed to remember over here, condition number 1, stay of 182 days or more in my current year. Condition number 2, further bifurcated into two part. A says that he should be in India for at least 60 days in the current year, and in the past 4 years, he should be in India for 365 days or more. I hope I'm clear with the basic condition. Now, in the second condition, in the point number A, I am going to replace the 60 days by 182 days, because it is one exception that we will see in this point, in the last point that is mentioned on the particular slide, that replace 60 days with 182 days in condition 2. If Indian citizen or person of Indian origin is living India for the purpose of employment or self-employment outside India. So suppose I was staying in India since my birth, but now I got a job in USA, and for the employment purpose, I am going to USA. So if this is the case, then what I'm supposed to do at the time of calculating second condition, I'm going to replace this 60 days with 182 days. So I'm going to check whether I was in India for 182 days or not in the point number A of second condition. And second exception is who is engaged outside India. So I'm basically employed outside India, but I'm just coming to India for a visit purpose. So in both the scenario, we are going to replace 60 days by 182 days. I hope you are clear with these conditions in the previous lecture already, and we had taken then an illustration. Let's quickly take a view at illustration also, so it will be much more clearer to you guys. The example was Mr. X, who was an Australian citizen. He visited in India during last 11 years, inclusive of 1920, in the months of October, November, and December. Determine his residential status for assessment year 2021, that is your previous year 1920. So what I am knowing by this particular example is Mr. X, he is coming to India since last 11 years. He is having a same time of arrival. He is in India for the months of October, November, and December. So let's check out the solution. The first condition says he should be in India for at least 182 days in the current year. So my current year is 1920, for which I am required to calculate the residential status. So let us check for how many days he was in India in the year 1920. So he was there in October, so 31 days, November 30 days, December 31 days, total of which is coming to 92 days. Fine. And our condition says that he should be in India for 182 days or more. So whether my first condition is fulfilled, answer is no, it is not fulfilled. Now let's check the second condition. Second condition is furthermore divided into two parts. A part says he should be in India for 60 days or more. He is for 92 days. So yes, my A part is being fulfilled. Second point says in the previous 4 years, he should be in India for 365 days or more. So I had calculated that he is coming for the same duration in all the years. So in 1 year, if he is there for 92 days, then for 4 years, he is in India for 368 days. So basically, what is my second condition? It says 60 days in previous year. Is it meeting? Yes, he is staying for 92 days. So my A part is being fulfilled. And what is my B part? He should be for 365 days or more in preceding 4 years. For how many days he is? He is for 368 days. So yes, my second part is also being fulfilled. So I can say since my both A and B part are being fulfilled, we can say our second condition is being fulfilled. And we know that in case of basic condition, if any one of your basic condition is fulfilled, we will say that a particular person is resident in India. So here I have written the residential status is resident by or criteria, since one basic condition is being already met. I'm just giving you a moment. I would just request you all to go through this particular example, because by today's topic, what we are going to study, we are going to carry forward the same example. So just go through this particular example quickly. Well, friends, I hope you are clear with this particular example. Now, we had just seen a slight twist in this particular example itself. Now, the example is the same, but his time of visit is being changing. In the previous example, we had seen it was October, November, and December. I have changed it to September, October, and November. So now the equations are going to change. Now, he is in India for 3 months already, but this time it is September, October, and November. So it is 30 days, 31 days, and 30 days. Total is coming to 91 days. And basic condition 1 says he should be in India for 182 days at least, but he is actually in India for 91 days. So my basic condition 1 is not fulfilled over here. Second point, A part says that whether he was in for 60 days, answer is yes, he was for 91 days. So A condition is being fulfilled. B condition says that in the 4 preceding previous years, he should be in India for at least 365 days. Now let's check. In 1 year, he is for 91 days. So for 4 years, he is going to be for 364 days. What is my condition? 365 days. So whether it is being fulfilled, answer is no. It is not being fulfilled. Why? Because requirement is 365, but he is available for 364 days. So in this particular scenario, what is the change? A part is being fulfilled, but B part is not being fulfilled, as a result of which I would say my basic condition 2 is not fulfilled. So in this particular example, condition 1 is not meeting, condition 2 is not meeting. Since both the conditions are not meeting, we would say that Mr. X is non-resident, as we are having or criteria show at least one condition should be meeting. Since none of the conditions are meeting, we would say he is the non-resident Indian. So this is what a small change in the period is leading to a big change in your answer. So it is making you a non-resident, fine, while in the previous example it was resident. So by now I hope you are clear how to classify whether an individual is a resident or a non-resident. So this is nothing. This is the understanding and implementation of your basic conditions. Now, at the time of seeing the chart of classification of residential status, we had understood that if my answer is coming to resident, then in the case of individual and HUF, it is important to further know that whether he is ordinary resident or not ordinary resident. Now, I am going to check that particular thing. For that, income tax law is providing me with the additional conditions. So just remember friends, what we have seen previously were the basic conditions to classify whether a person is resident or a non-resident. If he is non-resident, then your answer gets over there. But in case if he is resident, then you need to further check that whether he is ordinary resident or not ordinary resident, for which you are required to apply the additional conditions. I hope I'm clear with this preface. Now let's look at the full form. What is ROR? ROR stands for resident and ordinary resident. What is RNOR? It stands for resident but not ordinary resident. Now let's understand the criteria. If both two conditions are satisfied, in the below table you can see there are two conditions, two additional conditions which you are supposed to learn. So what I have written over here, if both the conditions are satisfied, then and only then I can say that the person is resident as well as ordinary resident. So here there is an AND criteria. In the case of basic condition, there was a OR criteria under which we were checking that if any one condition is fulfilled, okay, he is a resident. But in this particular case, it is compulsory that both the conditions should be satisfied, because here it is an AND criteria. So only then I would say that the person is resident and ordinary resident. If any one condition is satisfied or no condition is satisfied, then we will say that person is resident but not ordinary resident. So this is a minor difference that you are supposed to require and memorize. So here in case of additional conditions, there is an AND criteria. So if both the conditions are satisfied, we would say that the person is resident and ordinary resident. But if any one condition is satisfied or none of the condition is satisfied, we would say that the person is resident but he is not ordinary resident. I hope I'm clear with this preface. Okay, now let's take a look at the table below, which is the most important part of this particular slide. These are your additional conditions. Let's check out condition number 1. It is written over here. He has been resident in India in at least 2 out of 10 previous years immediately preceding the relevant previous years. So what they're trying to say over here is, if I'm calculating the residential status for the year 2019-20, then I'm not going to check 2019-20, but I'm going backwards for the 10 years. Now in this 10 years, at least for 2 years, that person should be resident. Now, what is the meaning of resident? That by the basic condition that we have studied in the earlier slide, by those basic condition, he should be resident for a particular previous year. I hope you are getting me. What was our basic condition? First criteria was stay for 182 days in the current year. And the second criteria were having 2 points, 60 days in current year, and in the preceding 4 years, it should be 365 days. So if by this condition, if a person is resident, that is, if any of these two conditions has been satisfied, then we can say he is a resident. So we need to check it out for the last 10 years. And by checking in this last 10 years, if he is at least the resident for 2 years, then we can say condition number 1 has been fulfilled. So here friends, you need to check the basic condition for all the 10 years. If the answer is coming as resident for at least 2 years, then you can say that your condition number 1, that is your first additional condition, is being satisfied. I hope I'm clear. Just repeating once again for your clear understanding what my first additional condition is saying. For the previous year for which I am calculating my residential status, I am going back by 10 years. That is, I am checking immediately preceding 10 previous years. Now in those 10 previous years, I am going to apply my basic conditions to check whether that person was resident or non-resident for that particular previous year. So what I'm checking over here, I'm getting the list for all the 10 years that either he would be a resident or he would be a non-resident. If he is a resident for at least 2 years out of the 10 previous years, then we would say that your condition number 1 is being satisfied. I hope I'm clear with this. Second condition says, he has been in India for a period of 730 days or more during 7 years immediately preceding the relevant previous year. So second point is again going to talk about the number of days. What I'm going to check, suppose if I'm talking about 2019-20, I'm keeping it aside and I'm going 7 years backward. Now in this 7 previous years, if the total stay of that particular assessee was at least 730 days, then we would say that my additional condition 2 is being satisfied. So in the first condition, we are checking whether he's resident or not for the last 10 years. In the second condition, we are checking his stay in India in the last 7 years. If it is 730 days or above, we would say second condition is fulfilled. If it is less than 730 days, we would say second condition is not fulfilled. Now, again repeating the same end criteria, if both additional condition number 1 and additional condition number 2 are being satisfied, then and only then we can say that the person is resident and ordinary resident. If both the conditions are not satisfied, or if any one condition is satisfied, then we would say that a person is resident but he is not ordinary resident. I would request you to take your time and go through this particular slide in such a manner so that in the next slide we are going to take up with the sum so we can solve it easily. I'm giving you some time. Please go through this particular slide. Well, I hope you are clear with the additional conditions, that is to classify that once a person is resident, whether he is ordinary resident or not ordinary resident will be made out on the basis of this additional conditions. Now let's take a quick view at a practical example so it will be much more clearer to you guys. I have taken the same example. Mr. X, who was the Australian citizen, is visiting to India during last 11 years, inclusive of 1920, in the months of October, November, and December. That is, he is coming to India for 3 months. Find his residential status for AY 2021, that is your previous year 1920. So it is the same example. Now let's start solving this. First of all, what I'm going to do, I'm going to check out my basic conditions to know whether that person is resident or non-resident. So in the first point, I had calculated what is his stay in India in the previous year. So in the previous year, he's staying for totally 92 days. October 31, November 30 days, and December 31 days. So what is his total stay in India in previous year itself? It is 92 days. My basic condition 1 says that he should be in India for at least 182 days, but he is actually for 92 days only. So my basic condition 1 is not being satisfied. I'm moving to second point. His stay in the previous year is 92 days and his stay in the preceding 4 previous year is 92 multiplied by 4 is equal to 368 days. Now my basic condition 2 was talking about point A, that he should be in India for 60 days. Is he? Yes, he is for 92 days. So answer is yes. And second part is he should be in India for 365 days in the preceding 4 years. Is he? Yes, he is for 368 days. So in this particular case, my second condition 2 is being fulfilled. As a result of which I would say my basic criteria 1 is not satisfied, However, my basic condition 2 is being satisfied. And what is the rule of basic condition? It is your OR criteria. That is, if any one out of two is being satisfied, then we would say that person is the resident. As a result of which I have written over here, residential status of Mr. X is resident. This is what exactly we had covered in the previous slide. But now, what I have taught you is, once we come to know that a person is resident, we need to apply further additional conditions to check out whether he is ordinary resident or he is not ordinary resident. So yes, now what we are going to do, we are going to apply the additional conditions. So here's your example, which is the same. I came to know that he is the resident, but now I want to check whether he is ordinary resident or not ordinary resident. So what we are going to do, we are going to apply our additional conditions. So the solution continues. Additional condition 1. What does it says? It says that the person should be resident for at least 2 years out of 10 preceding years. Whether it is fulfilled, answer is yes, it is being fulfilled. Why? Let's read out this paragraph. As we have seen in the earlier slide, Mr. X is resident for previous year 2019-20. Since the number of days of stay are same for every year, he will be the resident for all the preceding years. In the last slide, we had already checked that in 1920, he is meeting one of the criteria, as a result of which he was resident. Now we know that since last 11 years, he is coming to India for the same 3 months. So if I'm going to check this basic condition for all the 11 years, answer is going to be resident. So yes, he is resident for all the preceding years. So my additional condition number 1, which was asking me that out of 10 preceding years, he is at least 2 years a resident, answer is yes, because he is resident in all the previous years. So my additional condition 1 is being fulfilled. Now let's go to additional condition 2. What does it says? It says the stay in India should be for at least 730 days during the 7 preceding years. So suppose we are talking as of now for 2019-20. So I'm not going to consider 2019-20, but I'm going 7 years back. Now I need to check out that whether in the total 7 years my stay in India was more than 730 days or not. So what I have done over here, I am living for 92 days in a year. How 92 days? We have already calculated 31 days of October, 30 days of November, and 31 days of December. So it is 31 plus 30 plus 31, which is coming to 92 days. So if in 1 year I am staying for 92 days, then in 7 years, what is going to be my total? So it is 92 multiplied by 7 years. It is coming to 644 days. And what is my requirement? It should be at least 730 days. So whether my requirement has been met, answer is no. My additional condition 2 is not satisfied. So from this analysis, what I'm getting to know is my additional condition 1 is being fulfilled. However, my additional condition 2 is not being fulfilled. But in additional conditions, we had learned that there is a end criteria, as a result of which, if my both the conditions are fulfilled, then and only then I can say that a person is resident and ordinary resident. But even if one condition is not satisfied, then he would be resident but not ordinary resident. So here is your answer. Mr. X will be termed as resident but not ordinary resident. I hope you are clear with this particular part. I'm just giving you a moment. Take a quick view at this slide so that it will be clear to you how to implement and evaluate the additional conditions to identify whether a person is ordinary resident or not ordinary resident. Well, I hope you are clear with this particular part. So friends, what we have learned today is we have taken due care of additional conditions. That is, when we come to know that a person is resident, we are furthermore required to implement the additional conditions to check out whether he is ordinary resident or not ordinary resident. What are our additional condition? Condition number 1 says that he should be resident for at least 2 years out of the 10 preceding years. In condition 2 states that in the preceding 7 years he should be in India for at least 730 days. So I hope I am clear. We will be looking into some more practical examples in our upcoming sessions. Till then, I, CA Pujan Kapadia, thank you all for your patient listening and definitely hope to see you all very soon in my upcoming lecture. Thank you, friends.